Hello everyone, how's it going? And thank you for coming in to watch this video. In today's video I'm going to show you guys how to change the spark plugs on your BMW Z4. Now this doesn't just apply to BMW Z4s, but it also applies to any of the M54 engines that was very common in BMW 3 Series models. So if you happen to have the 2.5 liter engine, I believe this is also compatible with the 3.0 liter engine. This tutorial is also for you, and the spark plugs that I'm going to be using in this installation video are some Bosch spark plugs that were about $30. It was at a pretty good price, but what I liked more than the price was that these were original in many BMWs and covered many cars. I'll go ahead and link these below in the description, and I think they're awesome, and I'm going to show you why. Now, in order to get your spark plugs changed, if you happen to not know much about cars, I'm going to tell you that this is a very easy change. All you're going to need is a ratchet, an extension with a 5/8 spark plug socket, a flathead screwdriver, a 10mm socket, a 16mm socket, which is optional if you have a BMW Z4 and you think that this bar that I'm showing you right here is going to be in the way, which I happen to have no problems with. Also, if you have a magnet, it's also recommended to have one of those, although if you have a flathead screwdriver where you can change the tips by magnetic force, those are really helpful, and I'm going to show you that in the video too. And let's go ahead and get started. Once you have your hood open, go ahead and remove these 4 clips that you're going to find on your engine with your flathead screwdriver. Be very careful because they can break, and just be very gentle and they'll easily come off. Alright, once you got the tabs off, you're going to find yourself with 4 10mm screws that will need to come off. You have 2 on the right side and 2 on the left side. It's extremely helpful if you happen to have yourself a magnet like this, where you can just simply place it inside and remove the screws. You're going to find that this is a very common thing, and it's going to be even more helpful with the spark plugs. All you're going to have to do now is remove this oil cap. You're going to go ahead and remove the panels. This one first, and then this one, and then place the cap back. Alright, once you have the covers off, you're going to find these ignition coils. And there's 6 of them, of course, because this is a 6-cylinder engine. And under each and every single one of these is a spark plug that you're going to have to remove. Now, to briefly go over the process of how to take one off, you flip this cover up, and as you can tell, when you flip it up, it made this side pop out, which unplugs. And then once you have that piece off, all you have to do is put this here. You want to wiggle it a little, make it loose, put a little bit of pressure, but not enough that you can actually break it. And if you keep going at it, eventually it's going to come off. As you can see, I already have one taken off, and let me give you a quick hint. If you're having trouble trying to remove your ignition boot and your car is cold, I would recommend to let it turn on and just run a little so it can warm up and be easier to take off. As you can see, I have all of them removed, and I do recommend that you turn on the car and leave it on for just about a minute. You don't want it to completely warm up because then it might be too hot to work with, but I have all of these off, and at this point you can remove them, but just remember that if you do, you place them in the same order because they are not interchangeable. At this point, you go ahead and get your ratchet with your 5/8 sockets and go ahead and start to loosen these spark plugs. I like to break them all loose, and then once it's loose, I remove the ratchet and I just spin this extension until it's completely loose. And if you don't already have one, you should definitely get an extension for this type of job. Alright, as you can tell, I have the spark plug loose, and at this point, if you weren't able to take it off with your spark plug socket, and you happen to have one of these type of screwdrivers where it can change the tips magnetically, you can place it inside, try to align it perfectly with the tip of the spark plug, and as you can see, you can be able to remove them. You can tell that my spark plugs were soaked with oil, which is what can normally happen if you have a worn valve cover gasket. If you haven't already changed your valve cover gasket, I highly recommend that you do to prevent this sort of issue. If you happen to have oil like mine with the spark plug, it is not recommended that you just simply place the new ones inside. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to get a better view of this. But at this point, it's highly recommended that you clean the oil that is inside the tube as well. So one thing you can do is get a long screwdriver, wrap it around with a clean towel. Don't make it a microfiber towel, make it a very clean towel. You don't want contaminants to get inside the engine, and you just have to simply go around it and start cleaning this oil off, especially the bottom of this boot if it happens to have any oil. Now that I've shown you how to remove a spark plug, go ahead and do it with the other sides. Once you have all of the sections cleaned, if you happen to have oil in your engine, go ahead and place the new spark plugs inside. Now just simply place it in the hole like I'm about to with a screwdriver and try to make it nice and even. You don't want to just drop it in there. Once you have the spark plugs inside, go ahead and without the ratchet attached, use your extension with the 5/8 socket and hand tighten it. Now this should be a very easy process. If you're feeling resistance when you're starting to tighten the spark plug in, remove it and try again, because then if you tighten it in like that, it might be off centered. So this should be very easy and simple to do. Once you have them all inside and slightly hand tightened, this is when you can go ahead and install this with your ratchet. Now you don't want to tighten this too much. This isn't the kind of job where you have to tighten it as much as you can. Recommended online in many forums is about 17 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty much hand tightening it and just giving it about 2 to 3 with the ratchet. So that's 1, that's about 2. This doesn't require as much resistance. I'm doing it just to the point where I can't really go much further with my hand on the ratchet, because it doesn't require a lot of force. As you can see, that's it. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start putting everything back the way it was. And don't forget, these ignition coils right here have to be in the same place they were previously. Also, make sure that when you're putting these ignition coils in, that it makes a little click noise or pop noise just to let you know it is all the way in. There you go. And of course, once it's inside, go ahead and lift this tab up. Connect this back inside. It should click. That's it, and just go all the way to the end. And then remove the oil cap, place the covers back, and return the cab back to its position. Also, don't forget to put these clips back and be very careful with them. You don't want to break them as they're very flimsy. Let's turn this on. Sounds much smoother, less vibration, a lot less noise. Seems like a very good job. Alright, that is all I have in today's video. I hope you liked it, and as always, I'll have links below in the description to the spark plugs, as well as other tools like the extension and the right socket if you don't happen to have it. Hope you guys enjoy this video as I mentioned previously, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.